Hey everybody, Dan Beer. We're here with Agent Academy, and we're talking about how to close. And the problem with close is that people psychologically, when you think of closing, you think of what happens at the very end of a sale or the very end of a call. Okay, so if you look at this right here, this X, let's say we're at a listing appointment, okay? So how do you close a listing? Well, that X is right where you ring the doorbell, someone opens the door, you shake somebody's hand, and you're off to the races. That's the very beginning of the listing appointment. And of course, the end is the close. Okay? So when we talk about how to close, the first problem is that most people, they think we're talking about what goes on, say, from this point forward, right? From right about there to the end of that listing appointment. And the reality is that closing isn't just what happens here. Closing starts right there, all the way through. And people laugh and joke about things, you know, ABC, always be closing, all that. And that, to some extent, has gotten a very bad reputation for good reason and good measure. Where that comes from is really about bullying your way through a close or bullying your way through a presentation or a call. And that's not at all what it is. Okay? Closing does, however, happen right in the beginning using two weapons that the seller, in this case, if we're talking about how to close listings, the seller wants you to use. The seller actually demands you use. And if you don't, they won't feel connected to you, and they won't feel like you understand where they're coming from or what their needs are. And those two weapons are rapport and intelligence. Okay, rapport and intelligence. And when we're talking about rapport, that starts the moment they open the door. And I'm not talking about rapport such as, you know, hey, how's it going? You know, so what are you into? I see you have some basketball pictures up on the wall. You must be into basketball. Oh, I love basketball. Let me tell you about when I was a kid and I was on the state championship team. And, you know, you're just off into who knows what planet talking about basketball. That's not rapport. A lot of us think that rapport is you know, conversations like that, chit chat, connecting with people, just feel good conversations. That's not what rapport is at all, or at least not in the case of what it should be when you're there taking up a seller's time, entering their home, and they're inviting in a professional for the sale of their property. Rapport is built this way. Okay, there's three ways. One is you show up enthusiastically. You're ready to go, you're clearly alive, and there is a weapon that just entered their house. Okay, you're enthusiastic. Number two is expertise. What they're looking for is an expert. So when you open the door, you show up, you shake their hand, and you look a certain way, and you sound a certain way, and you immediately capture and embody the third point, which is authority. That is what rapport is about. What people miss is that from the moment the listing starts, that listing appointment begins, right from that moment all the way through the point where they sign the agreement, you're building rapport and simultaneously closing the whole way through. Okay? People that really want professional service, an expert to deal with, which is why they've called you to their home, they aren't looking for, you know, they're not looking to reminisce about the '86 Mets. What they're looking for is, yes, someone they connect with, someone they feel is enthusiastic, someone that they feel has expertise, is an authority figure, and that has a lot to do with tonality. How do you show up? How do you speak? What does your voice sound like? Do you project? Do you step forward? Do you stand tall, or do you crouch? Do you do this? Right? Does your body language say, I'm not an authority? If you're all three of these things, if you're enthusiastic, if you have expertise, and you show up as an authority figure, that builds rapport. And the close begins from that moment when you've entered the door. Okay? And the other is intelligence. All the way through the sale, you're going to be gathering information from the seller. In this case, we're talking about a listing. You're going to be gathering information. And these little tidbits that you'll pick up on, they're going to be used to drive the close and cement it there at the end when they actually sign. You're looking for where, in this case a listing appointment, where are they going? Where are they headed? Where are they not just physically headed, but where are they in their life? Where are they mentally? Are they in a frantic kind of manic stage, or are they really calm and gathered? Where are they? When are they trying to be there? Is it something that has to happen today? Is it happening later? When are they looking to get to the sold home? Why? And we hear a lot about why and what's their big why? What about going to where they're headed is important to them? See, a lot of people, here's what I see. They start their presentation, and the presentation starts, they're going through their questions. And so they might say, well, where are you going? Okay, you're going there. Great. And then they just say, okay, awesome. So you're headed there. Let's say hypothetically, I'm in San Diego County. They're headed to Rancho Bernardo. So then the agent will just check it off. Okay, great. You're headed to Rancho Bernardo. Then they'll go on to the next question. Wait, why are they going there? What is important to them about it? Okay, so now you're digging deeper. That's actually building more rapport, that you're gathering intelligence that you can use, that if you ever get derailed over the course of this process, going from entering their home to signing the agreement, you could come back and grab those pieces of information you've used to hone in on the closing. Okay, and what are their values? That's information you're going to need, because here's how it plays out. While you are building rapport and getting information, here's what the sale really looks like. See, you're gathering this information, building rapport, and funneling all of it to this closing that happens at the end. Sure, the perfect listing presentation, theoretically, I would love to have one like this too, would be where we enter the house and just start rattling off everything that we were there to say, and there's no objection, there's no nothing. They just nod their head, say yes, take a pen, and they sign. Whew, there you go. That's how unlikely that is. My pen fell out of my hand. So that doesn't happen, okay? That doesn't even come close to happening. You've never gone through that. I've never gone through that. They have questions. People have questions. They have to know that you understand where they want to be, when they want to get there, what's important to them. And let me tell you a quick story. What's important to them? Here's where I'm driving at with that. My team recently had a listing presentation. We're at a listing. They meet in the very beginning of the listing presentation. They kind of gave a lot of those shrug offs, like, oh, we're not really in too much of a rush. We're not sure. We love the house. We really don't have to go anywhere. But in digging deeper and collecting information on exactly what was important to them, we were at a $950,000 listing presentation, and eventually we discovered that what was really important to them was making sure they had a house to land in. Now, these particular people were going to rent. They weren't buying, but they were going to rent, and so we started talking about the rental. When we realized that was the thing that they were hung up on, that's where we started to hone in. And we knew that if we could solve what was important to them, we could drive them down here to the close. And so we then started to highlight and spend time highlighting the fact that, how have you been going about looking for a rental? And they'd say, and this is what they said. They said, oh, we've just taken a look at a few of them. We've seen a couple online. Bingo, we knew exactly where to go. Oh, really? You've only been looking at a few online? That must be frustrating. It's really difficult to do it that way. And are you not yet aligned with the rental specialist that is, actually showing you property aside from only what's online? Well, no, we're not, Dan. Okay, awesome. And then we started talking about the rental specialist. Okay, so our listing agent started talking about how there's a rent specialist on our team that they need to go out with. They're going to find a property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to give you a rent specialist speech here, but the point is that, think about this. We're at almost $1 million listing appointment. $950,000 is what it was signed for. and yet we're really building value on the rent specialist. Now, it might appear like we're kind of off course, but we're not. What we're doing is addressing what's important to them so that it's funneling them right to this point. When that was satisfied, they felt good about selling their home. We have a beautiful new listing. Make sense to you? So again, the close starts from the moment that appointment begins. All the while you're gathering all of this intelligence right here. You're building rapport. Okay, so you're building rapport through showing expertise and enthusiasm for their property and on being an authority figure that can help them, not by chit-chatting about, what it was like at the movie theater last weekend and how the Oscars went. That's not how you're building rapport. They might enjoy the conversation with you, but they're going to look to do business with an expert. You're building rapport by doing these three things. You're learning as much as you can about them, and then you take that all and narrow it down right here to the closing. That's the way it goes. And as soon as they start, some people do like to chit-chat. So as soon as they're off talking about, oh gosh, well, I wonder how, blah, 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 you just hear them out. And then you say, absolutely, I totally understand that. Now about pricing, now about the staging, now about the photography. See, that's exactly why we built this process, right? And you just bring them right back. Take them down, you close. That's how you close listings. That's how you close anything, right? We could have been appointments. It could have been prospecting calls. You could already even be in escrow, okay? You could be in the deal already, that inspection comes up and all kinds of issues pop up along the way. That's how you keep them moving from here to here, and then ultimately you actually end up giving them the help that they needed all along. So that's how you close, and we'll be back with a lot more of this. If you enjoyed this, look at our YouTube channel, because we have a lot more education just like this, jam-packed with real information. And this is Agent Academy. I'm Dan Beer. This was fun. Thanks for being here.